can sum up my sex inventory this way. I drank, she looked like Bo Derek. The next morning, she looked like Bo Diddley. Good night. My name is Peter, recovered alcoholic. Grateful to be alive and sober and part of a sacred place called Alcoholics Anonymous. And thank the folks involved in getting me here to share a little bit with you on this topic. And our speakers and our chairperson, and obviously all of you. Vancouver can really throw a party, and there's a lot of wonderful things happening out there. And there's a traditions workshop no one's in. We have a sex inventory, and it's packed. So I thank you for showing up. June 23rd, 1988 is when a loving God separated me from alcohol. I'm very grateful for this gift of sobriety. I just had another AA birthday. An old-timer would say, you become an old-timer, don't drink and don't die. So far, so good. I do have a sponsor. His name is Bob Bazan out of St. Paul, Minnesota. And I have just a wonderful home group in beautiful Boca Raton, Florida. It's called No Problems, Just Solutions. A lot of them are here. And we meet on Wednesday nights in Boca Raton. It's a little big book study, and it's one of the bright spots of my life, so I'm very grateful to be there. I will tell you, just to let you know I belong here, 14 years old, I pick up a drink. I'm from a place called Brooklyn, New York. You can tell I'm not from Oklahoma by the way I speak. Family gatherings, we would tell each other, I love you. It sounded like a threat. I love you. My first home group, we thought The Godfather was an educational movie. But I'm very grateful to be part of my home group and growing up in Brooklyn. You know, I picked up a drink at 14 years old, and it was blissful like a lot of us. I've heard your stories. I have enough birthdays in AA to hear enough stories. It was blissful. It was wonderful. It was marvelous. It was transforming. We felt like part of life at last, etc. And like many of us at 28 years old, I go into my seventh treatment center by way of not being able to stop drinking, taking non-conference approved dry goods, and living in an abandoned building and panhandling in the streets of Lower Manhattan and being one of those bums you see on the street. No bathing, no eating. I'm 130 pounds. I have hepatitis C. I'm urinating blood. My clothes are torn and soiled, and I look the part of someone dying of alcoholism on the street. And here I am, 37 years later, with clean clothes on, a woman I adore, a whole bunch of friends to talk to you about a solution to this problem called alcoholism. Alcoholics Anonymous, for me, makes absolutely no sense. We're going to pack a stadium later tonight. That makes no sense. We're going to get along. We'll even pretend to get along. I mean, you know, contrary to what's happening in the world right now. But AA doesn't make any sense to me because it took me from the gutter to here with you, a wretch like me, and revolutionized my life. And the topic we're supposed to be talking about is this sex inventory, our outlook upon life, which has changed the 180. Because God does for me what I can't do for myself. And when I look at a topic like this, or quite frankly, anything in my life, literally anything in my life, not some things I can make decisions in. I'm not managerial quality. My alcoholism doesn't come in a bottle of whiskey. I thought it did for a long time. And my alcoholism gets a life by devouring mine. It feeds off of me. So everything has to go through God. Everything hinges on my relationship with God. If God doesn't touch every single area of my life, it touches none of my life. So I can come into Alcoholics Anonymous and say, okay, I'm not drinking, but I can manage other areas of my life. I can manage my money. I can manage my sex. I can manage all of this stuff. And I'm going to run out of road quickly. And my life will become quickly unmanageable. The thing I need to do is also talk about what has worked for me. Because if I stop talking about what works for me, I will stop believing in it. The freedom I'm seeking, as of right now even, is no longer for me, but from me. The further I get away from me, the better I am. Less me, more God. And I need a whole lot of God. More God, less me. Page 62 in our big book talks about what I'm up against. Me. Selfish, self-centered, self-seeking. I got to get away from me. Because if I'm not, I'm repeating a lot of old behavior, which is really current behavior in the sex department. My point of view on sex. My point of view on relations. My point of view on intimacy. I need to first start practicing fidelity to God, so I can experience God's fidelity to me, and then I can go out in my relationships and practice fidelity in my marriage and not have to try to do that. It has become part of who I be. My relationships with men, intimate relationships with some men, practicing fidelity there, not waiting for something else to come along which is more popular and leave my friends behind. It's called respect and loyalty and integrity. I got that from you in an Alcoholics Anonymous. And a loving God. So when we look at page 69 in our big book, when it talks about the sex, what I'm always interested in, because me and a lot of us, I'm sure, came in with a lot of baggage in the sex relationships, a lot of shameful things. Some of us, I'm one of them, came in with a lot of trauma, things that happened to us when we were little ones. I was molested from ages 8 to 10. That's a blueprint for how I'm going to operate moving forward. And sometimes in some AA meetings, I know, well, trauma, that's an outside issue. No, it's very much an issue. We seek outside help for that because we're not therapists. But it set a blueprint for me. I come out of that at 10 years old, and I'm already sideways on how I'm looking at life, how I'm looking at men as a threat. They're going to hurt me. Alpha male scared the heck out of me. My mom was a full-blown alcoholic, had some psych issues, narcotic user, and commit suicide. This is a blueprint for how I'm looking at women. I know you're going to leave. If mom left, I know you're going to leave. How do I have relationships like this? So I look to escape. And for me, in the sex department, I speak for myself, it's power. It's control. It's positive affirmation. It's instant gratification. I'm in charge. Somebody actually thinks enough of me to get into bed with me. It isn't about the sex. It's about I'm being so selfish that I'm using you to give me what I lack. I can do that sober. And when we look at page 66, 3 times, it talks about, and I'm going to generalize here, moving forward and molding a new ideal. Moving forward. Because I have an opportunity here to live this abundant life God's about to give me and continues to feed me, or live my story. I know how that ends. It's ugly. It's boring. I've seen it. Which direction do I want to go in? And quite frankly, for a guy like me, desperation is a great motivator. When desperation screams loud in the ego, I'm listening. What do you got? Because what I'm doing is not working. I keep running out of road. I have busted relationships. I have no money. No one wants to come near me. And I know what I'm out for. I'll shack up with you just to get some money and drugs off you. I'll shack up with you because you happen to be a bomber. I don't care. How could I have any integrity in a relationship when I have none for myself? So it says we ask God to mold our ideals and help me live up to them, because information without God is not a transformation. It's just information. I need to go to God. Help me live up to this stuff. And the stuff I'm trying to live up to is God's will for me in this area, which trickles into a lot of other areas. What's my relationship with this God like right now? How far away have I moved from step 1? Have I done a searching of fearless moral inventory in intimate relationships? Taking a look at conduct. Our book is clear. They don't care how often you do it and where you do it. What's the conduct look like? And we know, I know, when my head goes on the pillow at night, I did it again. I have no idea who's sleeping next to me, or I come to and says, when did I get here? I speak to a lot of young folks. I do a lot of workshops. And there's always a spot when the young folks and some of the older guys, a break on a Saturday for lunch, and to have the dead man walk up to me, I'm sitting having lunch, and they're looking down, and they can't even make eye contact. I didn't know what was going to happen. Now I know the walk. I know the look. And I'm struggling. Well, what's going on? They're embarrassed. They're mortified. If something gave me so much good, why would I be embarrassed and mortified to talk about it? There's something wrong, but I'm powerless to stop it because it's a drink. Alcoholism goes underground and resurfaces in other areas. Sex sprees, food sprees, money sprees, gambling sprees, and some of these cats are stuck in the sex spree. And they look at me, I'm struggling with what? I'm acting out. That's code for sex. I don't act out with money, I spend money. I don't act out with anger, I get angry. But I code word, I'm acting out. Well, what's going on? When I was coming in, we didn't have social media, and it wasn't that long ago. We didn't have cell phones. Some of these young folks are already ruined, turned upside down because everything's accessible to them. So they see these folks come in, it's pornography. It has set a standard for how they live, how they look at women, how they look at relationships, and what has happened. Not only is infidelity, but it's tainting their relationship, an intimate relationship with their wives. I'm speaking for the men because the men come to talk to me about that. Now, wondering why something's in the way. It's not her. And waking up to that is incredibly painful, but it's necessary for a change to happen. And over and over again, what do? At least what I do, is turn them back to where were you with God? How many outstanding amends do you have? How often do you pray? Do you even have a sponsor? When I ask the question, do you have a sponsor? And I hear, well, that means no. I mean, we're unbelievable. You ask an alcoholic, are you married? Well, you know, I gotta... How many kids you got? What state are we in? I mean, it's, you know... very difficult to talk to an alcoholic. So I show up in here with a lot of shameful things, a lot of embarrassing things, and they're not going to set the world on fire. If it's got a name for it, it's been done. But it's the worst because it's me. And sitting with the sponsor in that first fifth step, I knew he was going to throw me out of his house. If he hears this, oh my God, he's going to think so much less of me. He looked bored. And one of the best things, I remember my first fifth step doing the inventory, the sex inventory, was when my sponsor shared that, yeah, it happened to me too. I did that. I was molested too. I cheated. I broke hearts. You know, one of the things I came in here with, especially when alcoholism really started to work me over, is breaking hearts of young ladies who thought the world of me. You know, the puppy love in high school. And I would drop her off and go out and say I went home. And one time she checked my mileage. She says, you live 20 miles from my house. Your car has another 300 miles on it. Where did you go last night? I don't care. I really don't care. That's selfish and self-centered. And when I come in here and start to talk about this stuff, and I get a prayer life, I get a God in my life, and the transformation happens with the information. Suddenly, I'm looking through different eyes. I'm looking through God's eyes. I'm hearing through God's ears. I'm speaking God's words, and my actions reflect that. Because the great thing about Alcoholics Anonymous, it's my hand in God's hand, and suddenly the ears to the head, to the mind are shut down, and the ears to the soul are awakened. The same thing with the mind. The eyes see, but we're seeing from a different place. I'm hearing from a different place. My soul has been awakened, which brings an end to this thinking mind, which I see and hear and act from, but it's never good. It's a 4-letter word. All actions born of thought. My mind says it'd be a good idea to do this, and I do it. My alcoholism doesn't come in a bottle of whiskey. You know, based on my actions, who am I worshiping? My thinking in my mind, oh God. When I came in here, whatever I thought had to be right. They're my thoughts. That's what gave him power and put me in fear. Sometimes we tell an alcoholic, think the drink through. Why? No thinking. Please don't think. We're both going to get hurt. There's an author, he says, you don't need to think anymore once your soul is awakened. That's that intuitiveness. We just know. We all know. I know right from wrong. I knew it then. I just couldn't honor and respect it. Now I come into this department in my life. And the book, I'm 66. The book doesn't tell me how often and where I should be intimate. It's just looking at my conduct. And I get into a relationship with a young lady for one reason. My heart said her. It was a soul-to-soul thing. I don't have to think about practicing fidelity. When you're in love with someone, that doesn't even come into the picture anymore. It's a godly relationship. But where do I stand with my God? How often do I pray? I'm not trying to turn this into a workshop. What I'm saying I do for me. How often do I pray? Sponsors have asked me this. How often do I commune with this God? Do I have a God? Because if not, I'm running my life. And I'll have to add another chapter to the sex inventory of shame, guilt, and remorse if I don't get drunk and die. And for an alcoholic like me, I won't die right away. I will linger and linger. And this thing will be going on, and I'll be the guy outside the glass window looking in, wondering how did I leave? How do I get back in? I can't anymore. So the trapdoors have trapdoors. And alcoholism will come at me this way. I'm bored. The spring gets tight. The tension gets too much. Life has become my master. I need something to deal with the present moment because the present moment's a little too much right now. The bills are coming in and I don't have the money. My kids are acting out and I don't have the skills to teach them. My boss is driving me crazy. I know I'm going to get fired. And sometimes you just turn on the news and say, when are we going to get along? And it gets too much. And what my mind says, we can't drink, but we can do this. Just get a little refuge here. I'm not hurting anyone. The problem is I'm an alcoholic. And anything that gives me pleasure, I'm going to do it again and do it again and do it again. And down the dark alley where I go, it's a lonely walk. Now I have secrets and I start to become part of my secrets. And suddenly I go from here, living in the center, to living on the fringes. And there's one thing that always works for a guy like me. I have the old default button that says double vodka now, and I'm gone. How did I get there? It starts with the erosion of my spiritual fitness. What am I doing to work out in the AA gym? A lot of young folks in Florida, they look great. They go to CrossFit and get a tan. They look fabulous. They walk in, how you doing? I'm sober. And for you Canada folks, if you want to know how to talk like me, I'll be in the back after the meeting. If you want to sound like you're from New York, just look pissed off all the time. It's simple. But what they do is they replace that void with other stuff, and that's fine, but I always wonder where the sponsors are. So they work out, they do CrossFit, they go to the gym, they spend time at the beach, and they look fabulous. And I says, how much working out you do in the AA gym, working on the soul? That's eternal. That's what's going to keep me buoyant right now and keep me out of my own way. So for me, currently, it's a lot of chopping wood and carrying water. A life of prayer, meditation, writing inventory, seeking counsel. Thank the good Lord I get along really well with my wife. I'm a blessed man. I can tell you I haven't raised my voice. I don't know how long it's been. It's about her and I. That does not come from me. I'm not that good. I'm not a nice guy, left untreated. I'm not. I'm an alcoholic. It's about me all the time. But this loving God, this merciful God, this powerful God has transformed a wretch like me into where I am today. Not perfect. I'm broken and flawed. Because I'm behind this podium, I don't levitate. You're looking at someone who's broken and flawed. I'm the car when it drives away, leaves an oil spot. That's me. But isn't that good news? What liberation in just knowing that? Because what do we identify with? Our brokenness. When a guy comes up to me and says, I'm struggling in sex, I sit down. We have that in common. I want to drink all the time. We have that in common. I can't manage money. We have that in common. Sit, we'll talk. When we tell our stories of what it was like, it's our brokenness. The woundedness we all walk with, even currently. It's not that I get all glossy and rise above you. God forbid if that happened. I know a lot of cats in AA who speak. They think they're like, I'm the spokesman for AA now. No, you're not. I can sometimes learn more from a guy with 30 days than a guy up here preaching, you know. I don't care about your information. I want to know how you're living. It's the brokenness. What it was like, what happened, what did happen. If I'm new, what happened to you? How come you used to run around with women, all men, or both, all the time? You had another addiction called sex. It really put you in a bad spot. What happened? Well, I came into AA, got a sponsor, followed the steps through the big book, found the God, and everything was transformed. We hear about these stories out there too. Gang members who find God and change. Inmates who find God and change. I'm an alcoholic who found AA, who found God and changed. I take no credit for this. I'd be a fool too. I'd be a fool to tell you I worked so hard for my recovery. I've done nothing but ruin my life. And God's mercy showed up in you and says, we got a solution for you. And you handed me a silver platter. Desperation says, I'm going to take what you got here. I have a lot of secrets. 6 months in AA, I'm dying of secrets and tension and restlessness and irritability and discontentment, and I'm not drinking. And if she walked in the room, I gotta leave. I don't do that anymore because I've been set free of me. I've been set free of my alcoholism through the sacred rooms called Alcoholics Anonymous. And if I had a prayer for anyone, if you haven't experienced the sacredness of Alcoholics Anonymous, that by the end of this conference, when you hit that stadium tonight, that you'll experience the sacredness of AA, where we see lives get reborn and resurrected for fun and for free. We don't care what political party you belong to, what color you are, how rich you are. You got a desire to stop drinking, welcome. We're about to change your life. How's that? I was living on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, Alphabet City. It was a disaster area back in the 80s. I have friends from California. I have friends from Florida. I have friends from Canada that I have relationships with. There's some men in this room I really look up to. And when they see me, they look for me. They hug me. How are you? And it's sincere. That's a long, long way from living in the back of an abandoned building, praying to die. I come into Alcoholics House, the sacred rooms, and I've been transformed. That stuff, those outside things, those other things called alcoholism, haven't had their grip on me in a long time. Maybe it's because I'm 66, I'm just getting old. I don't know. It's just, what a life. The only thing God wants is my soul. Yeah? I gave him my soul and he's given me a life. I've given him my life and he's given me purpose and direction. I've given him my sinfulness and he's given me forgiveness. I've given him my drunkenness and he's given me sobriety. And I give him my sobriety and he gives me the sacred rooms, the men and women in Alcoholics Anonymous. And for this, I'm very grateful. My name is Peter. I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah, I just have to say, wow, right? 3 very powerful, honest, and bold speakers. Thank you. Okay, guys, we just like to close with the serenity prayer and then the responsibility declaration. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay. The responsibility pledge or declaration. All right. All right, guys. I am responsible when anyone, anywhere, reaches out for help. I want the hand of AA to always be there. And for that,